Hey y'all, and by y'all I mean no one because no one's watching this. You can call me Merlin, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. As the summer is coming to an end, September is dawning upon us, and I'm dreading the fact that I will be attending university next month. I decided that it would be a good idea to talk about the books that I've read this summer. Just do a little bit of a debrief, if you will. I've read quite a lot actually. This is probably like my biggest year for reading. I did a lot of reading this year in comparison to like the years before. So I have a master list of books that I read this summer, spanning from around mid-June to now, because it is currently August 22nd and I only have a couple more books that I'll be reading this summer. But first, how are you? How's it going? Good? That's good to hear. What have you been reading? Let me know in the comments what you've been reading this summer, and I hope that we can fangirl about these books. And maybe I'll roast a couple of your books. Okay, so the first book that I started reading this summer was Killing Stalking. If you don't know what that is, then bless your soul. So this is a book by Kugi. Kugi is a Korean digital artist, and they had this webcomic called Killing Stalking that came out in like 2017. And it's the story about this 26-year-old man named Yoon, and he is mentally ill and he is infatuated with this man named Oh Sang-woo, and he stalks Sang-woo until he eventually breaks into his house. And then, whoa, plot twist, it turns out that Sang-woo is actually a killer. Hence Killing Stalking. So Sang-woo kidnaps Bum, and then this is just telling their story of their time together and like the traumas and things that they experienced before they met. It's a crazy story. I actually read it for the first time in the 8th grade, I believe, and that was like 4 years ago, so I was like 12. No, I was like maybe 13 when I read it. I can thoroughly say that I did not fully understand what I was reading at the time. Now that I've reread it, it's quite crazy, and man, it's so well written. I actually rated it 5 stars. I read the first season and I'm on the second season, so we're almost done. Also, do you guys like my makeup? You know Bee by Doobie? I was watching one of her beauty videos that like the beauty channels do, and I try to like kind of do her makeup. Can you tell? I did like the fake freckles, and I'm sweating a lot, so my face is very shiny right now, and my braids are very old, so I have this nice little bandana on. Don't judge me. I will rebraid my hair soon, but I kind of want to like cut it before I take out my braids and just kind of like, you know, like those hairstyles that are like, and that are kind of like the, you know, like the jellyfish hair. I kind of want to like cut some hair here and then cut some hair here and just have it long in the back. But for now we're like this. Then I read The Spanish Love Deception, and this is a book by Elena Armas. I rated it 5 stars. This was a very popular book talk book, and I kind of wanted to read it just to see what the hype was, because I'm a very curious cat, and that's what I do for most of the books that I talk about on this channel. Have you read the book? Let me know in the comments. I thought it was good. I really liked it. Thinking back now that it's been a couple months since I read it on June 19th, it's not that great. I wouldn't rate it 5 stars. I rated it maybe like 4 stars. But I really like the story. But honestly, I can't really remember much that happens. I just remembered I really like the tension between the main character and her love interest. It's this story about this girl who had a bad breakup with her university professor. She's kind of a victim in this story, and he moved on and she is single almost 5 years later. So everyone in Spain pities her, mostly her family, so she moved to New York and she pursued this amazing career. She's very much a girl boss business lady. She meets this guy who is kind of her higher up, kind of her boss, and then he's like, girl, just bring me to your sister's wedding since you have to go back to Spain and you don't want to be embarrassed for being single, so just bring me with you and you can say I'm your +1. So they do that, and then they end up falling in love. Obviously, it's kind of like a pet and dry cookie cutter romance, but for what it is, I really enjoyed it and I would recommend it. So then on June 28th, I finished reading Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Listen, I love this book so much, but what breaks my heart, what really shatters my soul, is that Rebecca Yarros is a well-known Zionist. And Rebecca, why do you have to do this to me? Is reminiscent of Six of Crows, except Six of Crows is infinitely better. But I still rated this book 5 out of 5 stars, and I'm going to read the second one because my sister bought me Iron Flame and I can't return it, so I may as well read it. But otherwise, I do not support Rebecca and all of the things that she supports, because that's not what we do on this channel. Which reminds me, we stand with Palestine. I say this in every video where I have a chance. The links in my description will be about things that you can educate yourself on about Palestine. I actually recently learned that Bisan, who is a Palestinian reporter, she was nominated for an Emmy. That's just really cool. If you have any links and stuff that you want me to read, go ahead and put it in the comments and then I can share it with everyone else. But yeah, links in the description. Next, I read Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. I didn't like it very much and I don't want to spread too much negativity on my channel. Not in Love is a book about these two characters. I can't even remember their names. They both have a lot of trauma. That's one thing I noticed about this book is there's a huge tonal shift in comparison to her other books, which I don't hate actually. I really like that she tried to delve into these deeper themes, but where my gripes are is that it's not handled the way that I think it should have been handled. It just shouldn't have been this. Like, I feel like she could have done a bit better with delving into these deeper themes, like in food insecurity, childhood trauma, difficult relationships with your family. But otherwise, I thought it was okay. I also did not like the smut in this book. It felt very awkward. I just didn't like it. It was, I don't know. This was just kind of like a bad apple in Ali Hazelwood's general batch of good apple books. I'm still looking out for her other novels. I think I really popped off with my Goodreads review of this book. So if you want to look at my Goodreads, it will be in my description along with other social media if you want to follow me there. But definitely check out my Goodreads reviews because I feel like they're funny. And I'm a funny person, okay? The next book I read was To Shape a Dragon's Breath by Monique Blackgoose. This is a really good YA story. If you're looking for a good YA story, this is where you find it. It is an indigenous story about a girl named Anacus, and it takes place in like the 1800s, I believe. And one day when Anacus is minding her business, she finds a dragon. And the dragon is a dragon's mom. So the dragon lays an egg and Anacus finds the egg, and the dragon has like an affinity to her. It's like a familiar almost. This book touches on themes like imperialism and colonialism while also being just like a cool like YA fantasy novel. It shows the dynamics between white people and native people on their indigenous land and how treaties and things negatively affect indigenous peoples. So because white people took over dragons, the indigenous peoples of this land have to negotiate their right to own this dragon. So Anacus has to attend this school so that she can learn how to what they call shape a dragon's breath, which just means like control her dragon. This story I really liked. I rated it 5 stars, and my description of it surely did not do it justice, but I think you should definitely read it. It takes a little bit of a while to get into, I find, but like once you're in it, it's a good book. Also, what I really appreciate is that it's a queer novel, and I like how it explores queerness in just like a natural way. She's not upset by the fact that she's queer. She just is comfortable with it, I suppose, because that's how she was raised. Queerness is not something that is like demonized within her community at this time, but later we know just from like a historical perspective that queerness is later demonized in native communities just because colonialism. So I really like that about it. I really liked how they explore different relationships and different dynamics with different people. I liked her dynamic with her family and her community, how close and like warm it was, and kind of tragic in some ways because her family is often close, but her father is always away because he's a whaler, so he's out at sea for like 8 months of the year. And then her brother goes and he explores these more white populated towns because he wants to be an inventor, but he can't do that in his own community. And then Anacus has to leave because she is a what they call, I think, a dragon rider. She has to leave so that she can learn to train. So like her family's being split apart, even so they're all growing closer in a way. I think you should definitely read it. If you haven't read books by indigenous authors, I feel like this is a really good one to read. Next book I read, Complete 180, Haunting Adeline by H.D. Carlson. This is the book that I read for last week's video, and I'm still reeling. I'm still recovering from the experience that was. This is a book about a girl, I can't even remember what her name is. Oh, Adeline, you would assume. This is about Adeline, and she moves into her late grandparents' haunted house, and it's literally haunted by ghosts, but also by her stalker, because she has a stalker named Zaid Meadows, and Zaid is a contradictory, misogynistic feminist. If you could think that ever existed, that's what he is. And he is a weirdo, and I hated this book. I rated it 1 star. My literal Goodreads review was, "What kind of fuckery is this?" That is a quote from Amy Winehouse. So the next thing I'm currently reading is The Duke and I by whoever wrote Julia Quinn. She wrote the Bridgerton series. I'm currently reading the Bridgerton series for a upcoming video because I'm a Bridgerton girly. And at first I really enjoyed this book because it's really cute, and I really like the dynamic between Daphne Bridgerton and Simon, whatever his last name is. Then they got married, and now I don't like it as much. I like the first half. I'm not enjoying the second half. The rating is currently sitting at 3 stars. I loved it so much in the beginning. I just love their dynamic and like the familial dynamic between the different Bridgerton siblings and how they all like interact with each other. I really like Simon. He's quite the catch. And I really like Daphne. and then they got married, and now their characters are just like completely ruined in my opinion, and I hate it. I hope it comes back and gets better at the end. But for now, I'm not loving it. Then this is the only book I physically have a copy of because those were all library books and I had to return them. I'm currently reading Call Me By Your Name by Andre Aciman. I don't know if that's how you say his name, but the French guy. I also have a French name if you didn't know, but that's not, Merlin is the name I go by here, but my name in real life is French. That's neither here nor there. Anyways, Jesus, I look so good. I'm sorry guys, like it is not often that I have this type of confidence, and I'm kind of eating the house boots down. Like, what can I say? Anyways, I really like the story so far. My introduction to Call Me By Your Name was the movie with Timothée Chalamet. See how my videos always come back to Timothée Chalamet in one way or another? The twink himself. Listen, after watching Call Me By Your Name, I can't see Timothy as anything but a twink. And I literally called him a twink in Dune because that's what he is. I don't care how old he is. I don't care about the fact that he's dating Kylie Jenner. He's a twink. Call Me By Your Name, the book, I really like actually. Elio is the main character. He's a 17-year-old boy and he is living in his little Italian house with his house guest whose name is Oliver, and Oliver is 24, I believe. They have a 7-year age gap, and this tells the story of Elio falling in love with Oliver and just their relationship. And I hate the fact that Elio is infatuated with Oliver because, again, he is 7 years his senior and Oliver is returning this affection, which is weird. That's the thing I hate, is that Oliver is a bit of a hoe and he goes throughout the whole town and is just like with everyone, including minors.
Probably a minor.
He's with a girl who is 16. It's gross, it's icky, and everyone just accepts it because it's the 80s. Like, I thought people had Christian values in the 80s, but apparently not. Otherwise, I really like this book, not because of what happens, but because I like the storytelling. I read the first few pages and I was thinking, wow, I just love how it's written. It's very like flowery, very like ethereal language, if you will, but like not in a pretentious way. It's like just well written in my opinion. It's not hard to read, but it also introduces new words to my vocabulary. And I love how Elio is written. I know a lot of people don't for some reason because he's kind of like one-dimensional, but I kind of find him relatable in a way. He's kind of weird in some ways and kind of perverted, but otherwise I relate to his like teenage angst and just like the way he like feels like existential all the time. I think that's really funny, and I relate to that a lot. So I like Elio, but I don't like what Elio does, if that makes sense. And also he says some very questionable things about like different types of people. Like, that's Call Me By Your Name. And then I'm also having this other book, Children of Anguish and Anarchy, I believe. This is by Tomi Adeyemi. I think I said her name correctly, I'm not sure. But this is the story. Honestly, I couldn't tell you what it's about. I actually really like the story. It probably doesn't seem like it because I can't remember what happens, but it's been a while. It's been quite a long time since I read it. One thing I love is just how beautiful this book is. And the cover art is amazing. I was really looking forward to it. Just, what a beautiful book. But anyways, I'm excited to read it. It's quite short actually. It's only about like 350, 400 pages, which is quite a surprise because the other book that I have, which is the first of the series, is like 600 pages, I'd say. It's like twice the size of that book. Crazy. It seems like she yapped too much and then she doesn't have much to yap about anymore, but I really like the book and I'm excited to read it. I think that kind of wraps up my reading wrap up. I hope you have a great day, great night, whatever's going on with you. And if you like this video, leave the book emoji in the comments so I know that you watched the whole thing because you're an elite employee. And you should totally subscribe because subscribers of mine are super spooky and we love Halloween in this era. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I will say bye with Call Me By Your Name because that is what I'm currently reading. Also, I don't understand, why is it called Call Me By Your Name? What does that even mean? Am I gonna find that out in the book? I don't know. Anyways, bye!